listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us be part of your day. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. Sitting next to me, it's Thursday night, so Myra's here.
Hey, everyone.
If you're new to Give God 90, and apparently a lot of people are finding us and joining us, we appreciate that. For everyone who has been with us all this time, we really appreciate you guys as well.
Yes, we do.
Don't forget the share buttons, the like buttons. You know the drill, right? I don't have to go through all that. You're doing it, and just keep it up. that's just the way it is, right? The chat on Spreaker is open. If you want to leave a comment, you're more than welcome to. All it takes is a absolutely free account. When you push the little comment things on whatever platform you happen to be listening on, it will say, "Oh, you're not signed in. You need to sign in to leave a comment," and you can do that. And you can do that too from your phone now, because it's there. They can't hear that.
Thumbs up.
Okay. Apparently, the other this past Monday, I made an offhand comment, and basically I said something like, I hold no appreciation, or I really don't like modern Western medicine. And I ruffled some feathers. Now, I wasn't speaking about doctors as people, as individuals. Most doctors are nice folks, right?
Right.
Most doctors have when they were young, they went into medicine because they really wanted to help people, right?
Right.
Money didn't hurt any either, because there's this fantasy that doctors are rich. Doctors aren't necessarily rich. They're just really in debt most of the time. By the time you spend 8 years in school, that's a huge amount of debt. Mm-hmm. So they really spend most of their career trying to pay all that off. So, they're working, right? But what I was referring to was the overall healthcare system that not only we have in the United States, but many developed countries have as well. And again, doctors are great people. Most of them. I think we can figure out now which ones aren't such great people around the world. I mean, we know where they are, where most of them work. But they have a problem. The really nice doctors have a problem. They like to pay their bills, right? They like to make sure that their family has food on the table and a roof over their head. They like to make sure that kids are going to have clothes to wear to school and that kind of thing. So who's paying the doctors? A lot of people in nations where they have socialized health care, their tax dollars go to help fund the medical system. In the United States, we have insurance. Well, if you have insurance, you don't pay your doctor. Even at, little bit of copay that you pay. And believe this or not, if you're over the age of 65, you get Medicare in the United States. That covers most of your basic needs, but it doesn't cover everything. So you still have to have what they call a supplement. And that supplement then makes up the difference depending on how much you want to afford to buy into that supplement every month. Now, even though you're spending a little bit of money to pay for that supplement every month, if you have to go to the doctor, that little bit that you spend is nothing compared to what it's going to cost the companies. So that creates an issue. And the issue that it creates is When you go to the doctor, your doctor doesn't work for you because you're not paying your doctor. You're buying into a program, or you are taxed into a program, depending on the country you live in, that pays your doctor. That's a drastic problem, because now you are no longer in charge of your health care. The program that you're buying into, or the program that you are taxed into, is supplying, and they are the directives of your health care now. Remember, in the United States, and I'm sure most people around the world heard about this, when they had the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare, and they said, we're going to make sure everybody has access to affordable health care. That's not what it was about. And we warned people and warned people and warned people about this. What it is a way to mandate you into a program that oversees your health care. That's what it actually does. So you're no longer in charge. Here's a radical concept. Ask your doctor not to bill your insurance company. Let you pay him or her. Say, I want to pay the bill. I want to make sure I'm getting the best health care that I can afford. What's it going to cost me? Chances are they won't see you. They will tell you they can't do it. In the United States, we have now what we call concierge healthcare services, where you pay a fee annually or biannual, however you pay the fee. And what that does is it's supposed to grant you access to your doctor whenever you need him or her, right? Well, guess what? All it does is provides your doctor with less work, because now they don't have to see so many patients. Every time you go to the doctor, guess what he's going to do? He's going to bill your insurance company. You're not paying him to see him. You're paying him for a spot so he can now, or she can now, reduce the number of patients and spend more time with you, so that your whatever directive and protocol, hi Carol, whatever directive and protocol that your insurance company allows, they can then dictate, or not dictate, they can then prescribe, right? Now, here's the real kicker. Some insurance protocols and some socialized medicine protocols actually do more harm than good. The doctors, they don't want to get caught up. They don't want to prescribe procedures that are going to do more harm. But what happens is you're no longer in charge of your health care, because now you're in a program that's in charge of your health care. And they don't have a choice. If the insurance companies or the taxation government's going to pay the bill, now what's going to happen is, it's, doc, if you don't go through, you jump through these hoops, make them go through this procedure, that procedure, and that procedure, we're not going to pay you. So now your doctor stands a chance of not getting paid. That's just kind of sad. And it's wrong. Warned you, warned you, warned you. And it's terrible, because I am convinced that most doctors didn't get into medicine to practice medicine that way. I have to believe the majority of them actually got into medicine to really help people. And now they're stuck in a program, just like you're stuck in a program, where their hands are tied. They can only do what the people who are paying the bills tell them to do. And because you're not the one paying the bill, you don't get to say what you're doing. And I will guarantee you, as evil controls more things in the world, it's going to be worse. We're going to see things like, we already are seeing things in the automotive industry where you can't have certain things on your automobile. right? You have to have this. You can't have that. This has to be this way. You bought the automobile, but guess who tells you what kind of automobile you can drive? The government regulations, right? There are a number of vehicles that are available in Europe that are not available in the United States because they don't meet the criteria of the United States government. You're going to see it in home building more so in the future than we do now, because as these what they call green regulations really step up and are more in effect, they're going to tell you what kind of house, if you are, maybe you're an elderly couple, all your kids are grown and gone, well, you can only live in such a big house. You can only be so big. No matter what you can afford, it can only be so big. Oh, you have a family of 4? Well, your house must be this size. It can't be smaller than that. It can't be larger than that. So what they're going to do is move you through these homes as you go through life. That's already in the process in some countries. It's going to be much worse. The more we allow evil to control the world, the worse it will be for us as individuals, and especially us as believers. So that's what I was referring to when I said I really don't like our modern Western medicine. Didn't have anything to do with the docs. Most of them are great. There's a few that aren't. But it's the system itself that they have to work in. There are a few at the top who corrupted the system, just like any government. There's a few at the top who corrupt and pervert the system. So, you can still be mad at me with your ruffled feathers if you want to. I wasn't beating up on your doctors. I was beating up on the system that they work for. Okay? Now that that's out of off my chest, I can continue. We're going to look at something tonight I've alluded to, but I haven't really spoken about it a great deal until now. And we're going to start with Joshua chapter 6, verses 1 through 5.
Now the people of Jericho were afraid because the Israelites were near. So they closed the city gates and guarded them. No one went into the city and no one came out. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua. He said, "Look, I've given you Jericho, its king and all its fighting men. March around the city with your army 1 time every day. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets made from horns of male sheep. Tell them to march in front of the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times. On that day, tell the priests to blow the trumpets as they march. They will make 1 long blast on the trumpets. When you hear that sound, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the walls of the city will fall, and all the people will go straight into the city."
Now, that sounds like an odd battlefield, doesn't it?
It does.
Jericho was a walled city, like many cities back then. And when they saw an army approach, they would withdraw into the city, and they felt safe, right? Well, Moses had some advice in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1, it says, when you go out to war, it doesn't say if you go. When you go out to war against your enemies, and you see the horses and the chariots, and an army that's larger than yours, don't be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, is with you. Now, he's speaking, of course, to the nation. And we're going to bring that down and look at the individual levels here in a minute. We think about battlegrounds. We think about armies going out, just like Joshua. The Almighty Creator, He's sending men out to fight with swords and bows and arrows, all the weapons that we recognize, everything you can think of. But the enemy has learned that he cannot defeat the Creator on that type of battlefield. He just can't do it. But he doesn't care. He still uses it. We know he's been defeated there many times. But he will still use a warrior-type battlefield with armies and navies and soldiers and sailors. And you get the picture, right? He will use that because he doesn't care how many people die in those battles. He knows he's going to lose every time. But he will still use that battlefield to fight. But one of the alternative battlefields that we don't think about, one of the alternative battlefields that the enemy has tried to use against the Almighty is the political battlefield. Now, we think of politics as kind of a dirty game anyway, right? We've gotten that in our minds. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you say the word politics, people cringe. In the United States, people cringe because we see what's going on in our nation's capital. If you live in a nation where there is a dictatorship, you say politics, you cringe because you know what kind of a leader you have. If you live in a semi-democratic country, you cringe because you know what kind of leadership you might get, right? But the political battlefield is something that even the pagan kings used. And they attempted to destroy the Almighty's chosen people. Let's look at Judges 16 verses 4 and 5 from Samson and Delilah.
After this, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah. She lived in the valley of Sorek. The kings of the Philistines went to Delilah. They said, "Try to find out what makes Samson so strong. Try to trick him into telling you. Find out how we could capture him and tie him up. Then we will be able to control him. If you do this, each of us will give you 28 pounds of silver."
Now, I don't remember how many kings of the Philistines there were, right? But that's a lot of silver. The political battlefield is actually what ended Samson. Now, his selfish and very unhealthy lust for sexual pleasure certainly contributed to it, right? But when the kings played politics and bribed Delilah, her lust for money, that is what actually brought down Samson. Now, I know a lot of times people say, oh, it was this, or oh, Samson had this. No. It was politics that brought him down because the kings conspired, just like David writes in Psalm 2, I believe that is. Let's face it, if it hadn't been Delilah, it would have been another pretty girl. That's just the kind of guy Samson was. He was doomed to destroy himself. So that's just the way it was. But it was politics that brought him down. We look at politics another way, too. In 1 Kings 12, 3 through 8, Solomon's son Rehoboam had some problems early in his kinghood.
So the people sent for him. Then he and the people went to Rehoboam. They said to Rehoboam, "Your father forced us to work very hard. Now make it easier for us. Don't make us work as hard as your father did. Then we will serve you." Rehoboam answered, "Come back to me in 3 days. Then I will answer you." So the people left. Some of the elders had helped Solomon make decisions during his lifetime. So King Rehoboam asked them what he should do. He said, "How do you think I should answer these people?" They answered, "You should be like a servant to them today. Serve them and give them a kind answer. If you do, they will serve you always." But Rehoboam did not listen to this advice. He asked the young men who had grown up with him. They advised him in making decisions. Rehoboam said, "The people said, 'Don't make us work as hard as your father did.' How do you think I should answer them? What is your advice?" The young men answered, "Those people came to you and said, 'Your father forced us to work very hard. Now make our work easier.' So you should tell them, 'My little finger is bigger than my father's whole body. My father forced you to work hard, but I will make you work even harder. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with whips that have sharp points.'"
Now, there's a whole lot of lessons in that. But what we're looking at tonight, and I'm not going down the other road as much as I want to, what we're looking at tonight is that we can see how the adversary infiltrated the political system with Rehoboam through his contemporaries, right? He didn't listen to the old folks. So he went to his friends that he trusted, the ones who were around him. And even though the division of the kingdom was necessary and it was going to happen, the division of the kingdom occurred through political means. So let's fast forward to today. What is the primary battlefield the enemy is using today? Look around the world. I'll give you a second or two to think about it. If you look around, what battlefield worldwide is Satan using to divide people? If you said science and medicine, you're absolutely right. Now, science has been a battlefield for at least 300 years, since the beginning of what's known as the Age of Enlightenment. Excuse me, when all of the British scientists were beginning to actually go out and explore and experiment, and they would sit back and they would talk about things, and they would say, well, I'm not going to go there. I'll spend some other time digging deeper in that. But it was about that time, about 300 years ago, when people were laying the foundation for folks like Darwin to come along and say, oh, no, God didn't do that. God didn't do that. In fact, they considered that the earth was so old that the earth existed when God was born and found some place to start life. That was their theory, which, like I said, another time. Yeah, I can go a long time on creation. But we're fighting this battlefield on the fronts of science and medicine today, and it's dividing people. More recently, the COVID thing, he's been able to divide believers. He's been able to conquer some. He's been able to, listen to me carefully, he has been able to remove the trust of some believers that they had in the Almighty and replace that with a trust in a substance that is injected into your body that has the possibility of causing you harm or ending your life. Did you catch that? Some people, instead of trusting the Almighty, are actually beginning to trust evil and say, I'm going to let them inject this experimental thing in my body. Some people, and there's people that listen to me very closely, were coerced into it. Right? Just saying. you're not going to have a job anymore if you don't do this. There's a lot of people fighting that right now. Some people had family that say, well, if you don't do this, we're not bringing your grandchildren to come see you. If you don't do this, we're not spending Christmas with you. If you don't do this, we're not doing that. They were coerced into it. That's a whole nother story. But it's a battlefield. It's a fight that we're fighting against evil. Now, each and every one of us has been given the skills we need to be victorious in the battles we are sent to fight. Not the ones we might choose for ourselves, the ones that the Almighty chooses for us. He says, I have given you the skills to do this, go and take care of that for me. Now, you have the choice, if you want, to be like Jonah, right? You can't make me go there. I'm not going. You can't make me. You want to bet? I know, and you know people too, who think that because they don't get in a boat and run away, they think they're fine, right? They're running the opposite direction. And stick with me for a second here, because y'all need to hear this. How many times have you heard when something comes up, people say, well, we need to pray about that. And that's as far as it goes, because guess what they do? They run and they hit their knees, they hit the church pew, whatever it happens to be, and that's all they do. They use prayer as an excuse for inaction. They've run to the Almighty like a scared child clinging to a parent's leg. They've convinced themselves, if I stay right here and I hold on real tight, right, they are exempt from service. You're not exempt from service. When he says go, you go. Isaiah had something to say about this. Isaiah 29:13.
The Lord says, these people say they love me. They show honor to me with words, but their hearts are far from me. The honor they show me is nothing but human rules they have memorized.
We need to pray about that. Oh, Lord, you need to do something. Me, I can't go say that. I can't go do that. Oh no, you got to find somebody else. We need to pray about that. They honor me with their lips. But I said, I'm asking this in Jesus' name, and you got to find somebody else because I can't go, Jonah. Right? And while we're talking about that, if somebody comes with a problem or a troubled situation, people are right there to say, oh, we got to pray about that. How many times have you come to somebody with a praise or blessing? Oh, look, this is just so wonderful. How many times has somebody said, well, we should pray about that? I don't think I have ever heard outside of our fellowship anybody say that. I know, and we've been involved in a lot of churches, I know I've not heard anybody in, let's see, I'm 58, so in 50 years that I have memory of, I know that I have not heard any. You bring something good happens, nobody says we need to pray about that. We need to thank and praise the Almighty who made this happen. Nobody has ever said that in front of me. It may happen, it just hadn't happened in front of me. Not outside of the people that we associate with. And we may have had some influence in that. Just saying. Getting back to this, what are the human rules when it comes to prayer? One is to be quiet. Right? Oh, you can't pray out loud. Not here, not there, not in school, not in... How long? There are churches that I know of And I have heard pastors stand up there. Let us go to the Lord in prayer, beginning with a time of silent prayer. Oh, that has gotten to the gripe me, because if you, yes, the Lord does know what's in your heart, but if you don't give him the authority to come in and check it out and make sure, you have to speak and release that spirit so that he has the authority to come do it. You give him permission. He's not going to go in there unless you tell him to, ask him to, right? The other man-made rule is just as bad. Repeat the same prayer until it becomes so redundant, so meaningless. You can say the words, but do you know what you're saying? You realize the pagans do that? According to Yeshua, according to Jesus, Matthew 6:7. But when you pray, don't use vain repetitions like the heathens do, like the pagans do. They think they're going to be heard for their much speaking. There comes a time when you need to stand up and take some action. James 1:22 says, be doers of the word, not hearers only. Hearers only deceive only yourselves. Inaction displays who you are supporting. Now, I'm going to refer you back to the Isaiah passage. They honor me with their words, but their hearts are far from me because they don't do anything I ask them to do. Oh no, Lord, send somebody else. He offered to send you. He offered to bless you by sending you to deliver the message. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm too old, I'm too sick, I'm too fill in the blank, right, to take any action. I can't do that. I can't. Oh, no. I want to ask you, are you too old to teach? Are you too old to speak? Are you too old to pick up a telephone? Are you too, are you getting the picture? Are you too something to get what I'm saying? If your battlefield is on the battleground of persecution, and I know some people who that's where their battleground is. They are persecuted every day. You will be given the ability to show the joy that you have, knowing that your Creator has trusted you to defeat evil where you are. Should I say that again? If you are on the battleground of persecution, you will be given the ability to show the joy that you have in knowing that the Creator has trusted you to defeat evil where you are. If you're in the political arena, you have been given the ability to argue for righteousness in governance. You have been given the ability to argue for righteousness in whatever form of government you are in. If you find yourself in science or the medicine field, right now you're in a unique place in this time in history to speak against the evil that's been allowed to infiltrate and lead that industry. If these things sound hard, you think they're too much trouble, maybe you're afraid to speak when the Creator gives you the words. Your inaction shows who you trust. There's been people throughout history who have not been afraid, who have spoken when they have been given the words. They've been able to show the compassion and love for the people around them. Some were recognized as being heroic. Some were killed. But the most of them never made it to the pages of the history books. Most people never know how many people they influenced by their action. And they're content knowing their name would be found in the book of life, the only book that really actually matters. Most people that delivered the message they were chosen to deliver, or people that fought the battles they were chosen to fight, or even loved the way that they were skilled to love, will only be remembered by a very, very few people and they're going to be remembered when their name is read in the book that our Creator holds in His right hand. And that's all the recognition they want. It's all the recognition they desire. All they want to do is hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." If you don't think being involved in politics is important, if you think being involved in the argument of the day is not important, you're wrong. If more people had been involved in the beginning days of the Enlightenment period, when so many scientists were suggesting, well, the Earth's been around for all these millions of years. We only have 6,000 years since God's been around. Obviously, the Earth is older than God. Even though it says He created, obviously the Earth, because it looks older. If more people would have stood up and shouted these idiots down, slapped them down, made sure that they did what Job said and said, look, if you don't believe, listen to the earth and it will tell you, where would we be? We'd be in a different world today. If more people would have been involved when Hitler began his crusade in Europe, if more people would get involved now and speak out against the evils in the world, show compassion to one another, what tribulation could we avoid in the short time this world has left? Of course, you can choose to hide. We spoke about that last week, right? What happens when you don't invest in the kingdom? See, all of these actions are connected. If you live in any form of democracy and refuse to cast your vote, you're not avoiding evil because evil is all around us. You're showing your Creator that you maybe only have empty words. If you blindly follow the theory of evolution, if you allow yourself to be trapped by the enlightened philosophy of the current time instead of maintaining your trust in the Creator, will you really hear your name read in the book of life? Or will the things in the other books be mentioned against you? The survivors of the Holocaust have sent a letter to the World Court, and they are demanding that they hear the real science behind the vaccine issue. And the number one reason that they've done this is because to force someone to accept a procedure without their consent is a violation of the Nuremberg Code. Of course, that comes straight after World War II. This letter was delivered on October the 15th, 2021, along with a packet of data from real scientists who have conducted real, observable, repeatable experiments. There's nothing in there that you're, no Facebook opinion, right? These are real, actual, factual, scientific experiments that they can observe and that are repeatable, that really determine what's going on with these vaccines. Is it going to do any good that they did that? We don't know yet. But they were willing to speak out. There's people in the Saudi government working for the Saudi nation to join the Abraham Accords. Is that going to happen? We don't know. But they're willing to speak out in a place that it might be kind of dangerous for them to do that. There are people every day who challenge evil. Our granddaughter had to do that in her science class. They were talking about the Big Bang, and she pointed out that the Big Bang theory is in direct conflict with the first rule of physics, that matter cannot be created or destroyed. And after a couple of minutes of discussion, she also pointed out that it was in conflict with the second law of thermodynamics. Heat does not spontaneously pass from a colder body to a warmer body. She's doing honors stuff this year, so that's the kind of things that she runs into, right? The Earth is 14.6 billion years old, or however old they want to make it now. And by the way, this is a science class, but we're not going to apply science to the beginning of the world. That's not science class. That's the religion of evolution class. And she recognized it for what it is, and she called them on it. Is it going to do any good? Probably not, but we don't know. What we do know is that people are speaking out. They're speaking out against evil and in favor of the Creator who designed us and has a plan for the way He chooses for us to live. You know, from a group of old fogies, you know, they're survivors. I got to give them that, right? To a 15-year-old high school student, people are willing to step on the battlefield that they were chosen to fight on. Question is, where's your battlefield? Where are you chosen to fight? The political arena? A military battlefield? I haven't mentioned a lot of them. There's a lot of battlefields. One battlefield is in the church, calling sin sin. That's a huge battlefield that most people back away from because, we don't want to make waves. You know what? When the lead soprano in the choir is dabbling in witchcraft, well, she doesn't do it in church, so that's okay, right? No, it's not okay. She needs to be outside the camp. So what if she's the best soprano you've got in the choir? Sin is sin, and it needs to be dealt with. And somebody in that church was given the word to speak up, and they didn't do it. Where are you chosen to fight? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're just starting to figure this thing out. Maybe you're just getting there and saying, I'm not sure where I fit in. I'm not sure what plan my Creator has for me. We might be able to help with that. If you go to givegod90.com and you start that 90-day process of changing your life, making sure that you change your life to reflect the way that the Creator designed you to live, you will figure out where your battlefield is. You will be given the words to go speak. You will be given the action to go do. But it comes with, you got to put in the time and the training, right? No soldier goes into battle unprepared. You need to prepare yourself. And that's where Give God 90 comes in. That 90-day period is just like basic training. A little bit at a time. Get you used to the things that you need to do when you wake up, when you go to sleep. And then it goes from when you wake up to including other things throughout your day until you are living the way your Creator designed you to live. Because at the end of that 90 days, you're the one figuring out what your next step is. So, where is your battlefield? What are you fighting on? Apparently mine is telling people to live the way that your Creator designed them to live, among some other things. Pointing out where the battlefields are sometimes. Everybody has an investment to make in the kingdom. Where are you going to make yours? Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Absolutely. We appreciate each and every one of you. I'll be back on Monday. So until then...
And I'll be listening.
Until then, many, many blessings, everyone.